All right, so Spain. Spain is calling your name right. You're thinking about packing up and becoming a digital nomad amidst all that amazing food and culture. But visas, they can be a bit of a headache, can't they? That's where this deep dive comes in. We're going to break down Spain's digital nomad visa. No more getting lost in the visa maze. We talked to a top immigration lawyer who knows this stuff inside and out, and we're going to share all the juicy details with you. Just imagine yourself working from a sunny Spanish cafe for clients or companies anywhere in the world. That's what this visa makes possible, whether you're a freelancer or employed. But it's not just a free-for-all.
Yeah, Spain's trying to strike a balance, you see. They want the talent and the economic boost that digital nomads bring, but they also want to protect their own job market. So this visa, it's designed to be attractive,
Yeah.
but it's also selective.
So let's talk about who can even apply, and it's broader than you might think. It's not just for techies, graphic designers, writers, online coaches. If your work is location independent, you're in the running. The catch is you need to prove you've got the skills, either through education or experience.
Yeah. Exactly. A degree from a recognized university, either undergrad or postgrad, that's one way. Or if you went the experience route, you need at least 3 years of professional work in your field. Spain wants to see that you're serious about your work and that you're not just using this visa as an excuse for a really long vacation.
Makes sense. Okay, so you've got the skills. But can you afford those capas?
Yeah.
Because the income requirement is where things get real. Spain uses something called the minimum interprofessional wage, or SMI for short. It's basically their minimum wage. And to qualify for this visa, you need to prove you'll be earning at least twice that amount each month. We're talking around 2,646 euro basics based on their 12 payment system. And for a lot of digital nomads, especially freelancers, this can be a deal breaker.
And that's why it's so important to do your research. You need to know what you can realistically earn in your field. Say you're a freelance web developer, for example. You need to look at the average rates for web developers and see if this visa is even feasible for you, or if you need to maybe level up your skills or your client base first. It's not just about meeting the number, it's about whether you can sustainably earn that much while still enjoying the Spanish lifestyle.
Right, you don't want to be working 24/7 just to make ends meet. So let's say you are making bank remotely. But what if you're not flying solo? What if you want to bring your partner, your kids, maybe even the family dog? Well, each dependent adds to that SMI requirement, which makes sense. Spain wants to make sure everyone's covered.
Yeah, for your first dependent, you'll need to add an extra 75% of the SMI. That's about 850.5550. And then for each additional dependent, it's another 25% or roughly 283.50. So those numbers can add up pretty quickly. If you're planning a family move on this visa, you'll need to do some serious financial strategizing.
Definitely something to crunch those numbers on. Speaking of planning, let's talk about paperwork. Because surprise, surprise, visas love paperwork. And not just any paperwork. We're talking about very specific documents, often with translations and special certifications.
It's like a scavenger hunt. But the prize is living in Spain. And the expert we talked to really stressed starting this process early, especially if you have dependents, birth certificates, marriage licenses, proof of relationship. All of that needs to be officially translated into Spanish. And you might even need something called an apostille, depending on where the documents were issued. This is where that "I'll just wing it" attitude can really backfire.
Yeah, you don't want to be scrambling at the last minute. So while we're talking essential documents, let's not forget the granddaddy of them all, the NIE number. If you're serious about Spain, this is your golden ticket.
It's like Spain's version of a social security number for foreigners. You need it for everything. Opening a bank account, getting a phone contract, renting an apartment, and of course applying for the digital nomad visa itself. The good news is you can actually start this process before even applying for the visa, which is a smart move to get the ball rolling.
Great tip.
Yeah.
So we've got the eligibility, the income, the family considerations, and the all-important NIE number. Sounds like we're ready to tackle the actual visa application, right?
We're getting there. But before we jump into that process, there's one more crucial aspect we need to cover, and that's the financial side of things.
All right, so we've laid the groundwork. We know who's eligible. We've crunched the numbers. And that NIE number, it's in progress, right? Now comes the main event. The visa application itself. I'm sensing a don't mess this up vibe here.
Absolutely. This is where organization is your best friend. Remember that scavenger hunt we talked about? Time to gather the rest of the treasures.
Okay, so what are we talking about?
Well, first off, your passport. Make sure it's valid for at least another year. And then there's the application form itself. No typos, no shortcuts.
The dreaded application form.
Yeah.
Always a test of patience.
And don't forget the background check. Spain wants a clean slate. So you'll need a criminal record certificate from any country you've lived in for the past 2 years, plus proof that you're legally residing where you're applying from.
So it's all about showing Spain you're a solid citizen.
Exactly.
All right.
Proof of health insurance. This is crucial. You can't just rely on your travel insurance. Spain wants to see that you have coverage that's at least as comprehensive as their public healthcare system.
Got it. No skimping on health insurance.
Oh.
Now, this is where it gets interesting for different types of digital nomads. That employment or contract certification. So if you're working for someone else, back home, I mean, you'll need them to write you a very specific letter.
That's right. That letter needs to confirm a few things. First, that you've been with the company for at least 3 months before applying for the visa. And second, that they're giving you explicit permission to work remotely from Spain.
So it's like your official permission slip
Yeah,
to work from paradise.
exactly.
Now, what about freelancers?
For freelancers, it's all about the contract. It needs to be clear, detailed, and explicitly state that remote work is A-okay.
So you're basically presenting your freelance business to Spain in its best light.
Right, you're showing them
Yeah.
that you're a pro, you've got clients, you're generating income, and you're not planning on taking any jobs away from Spanish citizens.
Transparency is key. Now, speaking of being transparent, our immigration expert had some wise words about this whole process.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's such good advice because this is where an immigration attorney can be invaluable. They know the ins and outs of the Spanish system, they can catch any potential red flags in your application, and they can guide you through the process with minimal stress.
It's like having a Sherpa guiding you up Mount Everest.
I love that analogy.
They know the terrain. They know the dangers. And they'll help you reach the summit. In this case, that beautiful Spanish life you're dreaming of.
Exactly.
So with all that said, I'm curious, what excites you the most about the prospect of living in Spain? The beaches, the tapas, or maybe it's just the thought of wandering through those ancient cities, soaking up the history. I mean, Spain, it's like straight out of a travel magazine.
And that's what makes this visa so special. It's not just about the work, it's about the life you can build around that work. Imagine yourself working from a co-working space in Barcelona one day, surrounded by other creative minds. And then the next day, you're hiking in the Pyrenees, completely unplugged.
Okay, now you're just showing off.
Yeah.
But seriously, the freedom and flexibility this visa offers, it's incredible. You're not tied to one location. You could spend a month in Seville, then a few weeks in Valencia, all while working for clients on the other side of the world.
And it's not just about seeing the sights. It's about really immersing yourself in the culture, learning a bit of Spanish, taking a flamenco class, trying all the different regional dishes. This visa gives you the time to truly experience Spain, not just skim the surface as a tourist.
It's like hitting the pause button on your everyday life
Yeah.
and stepping into a whole new world. And who knows, maybe Spain is just the first chapter in your digital nomad story.
Exactly. That's the beauty of this lifestyle. Once you've gotten a taste of working remotely from another country, it opens up a world of possibilities. Maybe next year, it's Portugal or Italy, or even somewhere further afield like Thailand or Argentina.
The world is your oyster. But for now, let's get you settled in Spain. We've covered a lot of ground today, from eligibility and income requirements to the nitty-gritty of the application process. It might seem daunting, but remember, thousands of people have successfully navigated this process and are now living their Spanish dream.
And with the right preparation, the right mindset, and maybe a little help from an expert, you can too.
So what's the next step for you? Are you ready to start turning those Spanish daydreams into a reality? We hope this deep dive has given you the knowledge and the confidence to take that leap. Buena suerte.